Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Dirt 3. Today we do the Ultimate Trailblazer and hopefully Ultimate Landrush. Let's hop into it. 4 more races. We'll just take modern cars. Taking whatever we can take. Seems like a good idea to me.
Either your foot's made out of lead, or I'm doing one hell of a job setting up this car. Keep it up, mate.
Frankly, the truth is my foot's made of lead. Which, not literally, but I'm just always accelerating. And in all racing games, that's what you have to fight against in developing your mechanics and your race. Is it shouldn't be a case, even on casual, that the person who just holds down the accelerator the whole time can win. There should be more of an interaction there. It's kind of like the difference between being able to turn pages really fast and being able to speed read. Anybody can turn all the pages in a book and pretend like they've read it, as long as they've read the entire book really fast, as long as you don't question them or challenge them in any way. Whereas a speed reader actually does read the book and you can ask them questions and they could hopefully retain the information and tell it to you. I don't know if that's exactly the case in speed reading though. Depending on how good you are at it, it seems like sometimes you just get the general idea of the story and not every single word, unless you also have photographic memory. And if you can speed read and have photographic memory, then boy, I wish I had that ability. That would be nice. But I also don't know if I believe half the people that say they have photographic memory. I think they just, half of them say it because they can remember a few things, or because they want to be special. So, like, I've yet to see somebody with photographic memory read all the books in the Library of Congress and be able to spit it back out word for word with 100% accuracy. So we're doing Landrush races. So what's the deal with Landrush races? I guess they are now maybe not rally car races, but they are timed races. So you're going for a split time again, and it's not a position race like Rally X. So it's very much just slight variations on the theme of rally car racing. We don't have the co-pilot in this, in Landrush, but you're still going for time, and fastest time seems to win, which I could have sworn there were some other kinds of races that aren't represented in this game. I could have sworn that there was a race where, like, a pacing car sets the average speed for every split section, and you're supposed to try and match that speed. And a minute ahead, or a second ahead, or a second behind are points deducted. And we don't see that. It would be kind of a boring race type that I wouldn't say do a lot of, but it's not here at all. I could have sworn that you sometimes drive around the track for maybe 3 days doing the exact same track, and then they take the average of your speeds. Again, very boring, but not seen here. And they're not mentioned or talked about. This game has left me with a lot more questions about the racing fandom and racing in general, then it's answered. And I know there's no drag racing going on here. I know there's no demolition derby going in here. I know there's no monster truck tricks in here. Just the Gymkhana tricks, which are very limited. And no, we don't have any NASCAR style racing here. I don't think the NASCAR style of racing would be particularly fun in any game, because you really are doing like hundreds of laps around the circle for just a strange way to exhaust the car and driver. So yeah, that's probably the reason why I've never seen or heard of a NASCAR style racing game that goes that long. But I would want NASCAR cars in a racing game. There's a difference there. I just wouldn't want to have to do 300 laps. I'd want a more reasonable 3 laps, 5 laps. Just acceleration and top speed things, not durability. Here we are, we're probably still in first place even though this car's in front of us. The bigger danger is that I'm just gonna slow down. The bigger danger is that you're gonna crash into the guy. Coming downhill at a very high speed. Still trying to work my way out of the swerve. Easiest thing to do is just to stop accelerating. Take your foot off the accelerator in any kind of skid or swerve. Yeah, this game could help. It would be nice if all racing games had some basic instructions of driver's ed. Just like, this is what you actually do in a skid and a skid steer. These are the emergency situations you might run into. Wow, there's a car broken down right there on the track. That, like, this is the speed limit. This is how fast you're supposed to be driving. This is how you parallel park. That would actually be kind of funny and easy to do in that DC compound. Just put 2 cars next to themselves and have them a parallel park quest. It's really difficult to parallel park for new drivers, and it takes a level of knowledge and experience that you don't build on very much unless you live in an area where you're parallel parking a lot. In general, parking spaces are more and more trying to get away from parallel parking and street side parking into just parking lots or straight in parking, because it's a pain for everybody involved. But there's only so much you can do there. Hey, I got 2nd place. Should I rerun it? Not really. As long as I get 1st place and everything else. Oh look, and the event standings for Trailblazer are not even done by points, they're done by time, so I'm so far ahead from just the 1st race, it's unlikely I would lose. So I could have terrible runs and potentially 3 races, 1 great run, and still get 1st. I doubt that would happen, but it's possible. We're gonna have to be careful here on this icy road. And this icy road is the same track we've already done in the Ultimate Rally. So they're already back to doing tracks we've already seen. Halfway through the final Ultimate tournaments. And what's going to be an amazing disappointment if it happens is if Dirt 4 comes out and it doesn't have any of these tracks. Which wouldn't make any sense at all because Dirt 3 isn't even available for sale. So, and there's no way you had to license these tracks. And even if you did have to license these tracks, make a slight change, put it in a different environment, call it by a different name, and nobody could possibly sue you for it. It's not like the layout of roads are copyrightable. This curve is too close to this curve. You'd never win in court with that. So you would hope that is the case, but the argument that it won't be the case is, well, there was a Dirt 1 and a Dirt 2 that's also not available for sale, I don't believe, on Steam. And unless Dirt 1 only had one track and Dirt 2 only had 4 tracks, those tracks didn't get added to this collection either. And it really needs to build on itself. In fact, having a numbered system isn't very helpful at all. This is a style of game that would work better as just, this is the reboot of Dirt, and we're going to put out DLC, and we're going to sell more tracks every few months, and we're going to sell more cars every few months, and this is where DLC would actually start to make sense. Similarly, in Pinball Arcade, they have to license all of the pinball games they make because they're real-world pinball, and I think it's called Pinball Arcade is the name of the game. So they do seasons in which each season you have to pay more DLC because they had to license new tables, but if you don't want those tables, or if you don't want that season, you don't have to buy it, and you can still enjoy the rest of the game at a cheaper expense. In fact, the game Pinball Arcade by itself starts off as free to play and lets you demo like 4 tables for free, which is very nice. So if they made a Dirt that was free to download, and they let you demo the tracks, and they let you demo the cars for one race or half a race, and maybe they let you do the whole race but it doesn't count, and it just says unlock now to upsell you to the DLC, I think that would work kind of nicely, instead of immediately asking for what I assume is $60. I assume that's what Dirt 4 is going to cost. And for the entire collection of a really, really small number of tracks, which I assume that's what Dirt 4 is going to be. And then no improvements. A game like this, I could even imagine them charging for an entire patch to increase the graphics, but it probably would be a bad idea. It'd probably be better to have a separate patch to increase graphics up to, well, I don't even know how much you really have to increase it, honestly. If the game now could probably render the graphics in 4K or 8K, I don't think by the time 5 or 10 years go down that your engine would be able to handle much more than that, or that we'd really want to go above 8K anyways. There's a lot of real unrealisticness about the higher resolutions once you get above 1080p, and like, while you can put videos that are 2K and 4K on YouTube, the upload time is ridiculously long, so that would be the one video you put up for a week and the amount of CPU processor to play it back is very, very high, so it won't play smoothly. So you've got something that looks really great but doesn't play smoothly on a significant portion of PCs. Forget about cell phones, where most of YouTube content is viewed. You're not going to be able to watch the 4K version of that. And even when you do 4K on YouTube, it's still compressed a lot more than you would like it, so it still doesn't look good. If you just want to play the games and you don't want to upload them, playing on 4K on most games is kind of ridiculous. It requires massively expensive computers and GPUs and massively expensive monitors, and I'm not sure it guarantees you a better experience, because often the frame rates are still kind of low at those resolutions. And honestly, I don't believe we're going to see anything above 8K. I think it gets down to the point where unless you're going to paint your 10-foot wall, floor to ceiling, left edge to right edge, with some kind of special monitor paint, like nanowatt paint, unless you've got a 10-foot large TV, effectively, the resolution stops making sense at SMR. I think you probably need at least a 60-inch TV to even start to think about doing 4K and 8K. Well, took a little bit of a splash there. And if you've got something that larger than a 60-inch, your odds are you're sitting too close to it, unless they start building houses with movie theaters in them. You're not going to get a 15, 20 foot long narrow room unless you live in some weird mansion where you've custom built that. So having a hugely large TV, not as helpful as you might think.
Okay, you're looking really good. You're right on target to qualify for the final.
Yep, you're driving in the top of the field, just like I knew you could.
So Trailblazer is an interesting turn of events because it adds up all your times across the 4 races. And it's sad that I'm only realizing how these races work at the very end when I'm trying to figure it out. It's real sad they didn't explain any of this. It's also really stupid that I've been at level 30% for half the game. That doesn't really help anything.
This is fantastic. You've qualified for the Super Series final. When I signed you, it wasn't because I thought you could win a lot of races. It was because I knew you could win this race.
Yeah, this is the big one. You think you're ready?
So we could just skip to the final if we wanted to, but that'd be silly. And all these say various as far as the locations. 2 races this time, but both of them pretty long. Let's do a buggy. So 2 long.
You brought the car in clean last time. It's ready to go when you are.
Longer lap-based buggy races. Now we kind of know what these type of races are. What were these called? Landrush? Or is it called something else? No, yes, this is Landrush. The idea is, in these races, you're driving heavily modified cars. You're doing laps, and these cars go faster and do higher jumps. So the cars are different. The tracks are slightly different. They're designed. I think I just had a car magically spawn in again. We've seen that happen, I think, twice. We've seen the game lock up and crash a couple times, although the locking up and crashing stopped. So maybe that was just Steam. In some rare instance, Steam decided that it was going to crash, and because Steam crashed, the game crashed. Because I seriously doubt if Steam was programmed, if the version of Steam was running correctly and programmed correctly, there should be nothing that DiRT 3 or any other game does to Steam that would cause it to crash. And it stopped, which implies to me that Steam updated itself and fixed whatever bug it was having. And so I'm willing to forgive those crashes since we haven't seen them happen in a long time. People down in the comments would have to comment if they had similar experiences at different times. But I'm willing to pretty much forgo this. There is some weirdness about leaving this game running and changing my TV input. When I come back, it's always in black, and I have to hit Windows D to get the desktop, or Control-Alt-Delete to get the task manager up. But that's not a typical use case anyways, to leave your game running. You shouldn't do that. I just do it because, well, frankly, I get tired and fall asleep and leave the games running. Which drastically affects how many hours Steam thinks I've actually been playing a game. Really kills any opportunity to get a refund automatically. If you leave your game on for an hour before you've even started playing it. Which is about typical for me. I usually, in setting up a game, will have the game running for an hour before I even start playing. But I'm not really in the business, as a YouTube video game critic, I'm not in the business of getting refunds anyways. It's easier to own a game that's bad than it is to get a refund and then accidentally purchase the game again a few months later, which is exactly what would happen with me. Is I would see it on sale and think to myself, yeah, that looks interesting, and totally have forgotten I've already tried it once. Plus, with the ability to patch games, you never know. Games may go from being bad to good after a long amount of time. So this race is a position race, but it's through laps. And because there's only 2 racetracks that they're going to do here, I'm assuming the case is that that there's less tracks. Maybe not just these 2, but less than average tracks that are designed in a way where these kind of races would happen. These tracks are frankly the exact same tracks, they just have bumps added to them, and maybe some divots. Like, that part right there is just added, that jump. You take that jump out, you take all the other jumps out, and you've got the exact same smelter racetrack we've driven on many times before. And it has me driving over the crossroads every now and then, and that seems to affect my speed a little bit, right, like that, and it has me driving over some jiggle bars to slow me down every now and then, which I assume it wants me to slow down because there's something ahead of me that I should slow down. However, driving in the water seems to do nothing. It doesn't seem like it reduces your grip at all. Maybe on the intermediate mode it does, or advanced mode it does, but if that's the case, they're missing out. There's some jiggle bars right there. You can barely even see them. You just have to kind of look at the wheels bump up and down. And still racing like I've always been racing, just holding down the accelerator, just going through it all. The fact that you can miss the 2 pieces of water is rather pointless, considering water doesn't seem to slow you down any. Well, maybe it does slow you down, but doesn't decrease your grip. That's a major problem with this game, is the tires on these cars have the grip that is unnaturally and unrealistic. It's like they're glued to the road. Like, they never slide, they never skid. Sure, you can drift and spin when you want to, but if you're doing a regular race, it's just not there. So again, on the standings, if I got 8th place plus my 10 points, I'd be at 11. That means that half of the people with 2 races could beat me, but half the people can't. If number 5 there, Pedro Ramos, got 10th place, he would have 14, and if I got 8th place, I'd have 11, so he could beat me. Well, I guess everybody could beat me if they got 1st place and I got 8th, because even number 7 there, he would have 12 and I would have 11. But it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely you'd go from 1st place to 8th place in 2 races. And you solidify your chances of winning a lot more when you have 4 races. Which is to say, if you want to know who the best racer is, you should have as many races as reasonable. In that kind of points system. But all you're asking when you have races is who's the best racer over an average of races versus who's the best racer on one specific track on one specific race. Because technically whoever got 1st place in that race is the best racer in that race. You're just kind of playing schematic. Otherwise, is that the right word, schematics? I've forgotten what that word means temporarily. You know what they could have done, just as a free thought? They could have put some bowling pins at the end of some of these races. It's just a goof. Just 10 giant inflatable bowling pins that you go down a hill as fast as possible and try to get a strike. Just to change things up. Like, it's so boring and repetitive through all these different races. Even though there's slight changes here, they're hard to even tell the difference. Like, it's a difference between, are you doing a position race or are you doing a time race? Are you doing a racetrack that makes you do 1 lap or 2 laps or 3 laps or 4 laps or 6 laps or 7 laps or 5 laps? I'll throw 5 in there too, since apparently I can't count right now either. But in general, if you ignore everything around the screen, if you turn off the HUD, it's all the same. It's follow the green line, hold down the accelerator the whole amount while playing on casual. It's exactly the same as the past 100 races I've done, as far as how it feels. And sure, I'm in a different car, but it doesn't really change that much. And sure, if I was playing on the intermediate, I would have gotten nowhere in the game, and that would have provided a challenge. But the controls are they go from so tight to like perfect controls. It's a perfect computer assist controlling a perfectly controlling computer simulation of a car on casual to something that's not easy enough to drive that I can even begin to think I might get skilled at it. I would, instead of going to intermediate from casual in this game, I would be more likely to just go get in a real rally car race. Just sign up and do an actual rally car race in the real world, and the controlling of that car would be better than intermediate. Just because I have experience there, and because I think it probably does control, even on intermediate, better than in the real world than it does in the game. Which, all the issues that I see with this game culminate in the thought that it's just an unfinished game, and it's incredibly unpolished, except for in the visuals, in which it's very polished, but it's missing a core engine and a core feeling of actually driving. And maybe that's why Dirt 3 is not on sale, is that they're ashamed of it. And maybe Dirt 4 will fix all that. Maybe Dirt 4's controls will be way better. It will have all the races and cars, all the racetracks and cars from Dirt 3. And Dirt 4 will just be the apology tour and the better version. Wouldn't be the first time in the video game industry that we've seen a game come out and it be bad, and then the sequel come out and it be a lot better. That being said, it's often the other way around, that the original game comes out as great and the sequel's not quite as good or a lot worse. But it's happened both ways, and I hope for that. I don't want Dirt 4 to fail, but it would be nice if it was a great success. Maybe in a year or two, and I'll get the bug to play another racing game and cover Dirt 4. I've got plenty of racing games already, but a newer one might be an interesting comparison. Here we are on lap 6, and I'm in first position, so I've guaranteed my victory. Of course, if you get first place in both races, there's no way you could lose. At least as far as I know, there's no penalty or anything that you can occur that would kick you out of the entire tournament. Almost done here. And then this slow motion.
Your fans will go
there.
nuts when they see that. Let's post it on YouTube.
A podium in the Super Series, under all that pressure. That's fantastic.
It sure is, mate. Just make sure you wipe those sweaty palms before you shake any hands.
So, what could be really, really bad in Dirt 4 is if they start posting it on YouTube and Twitch. If that's the big new features, they've integrated Twitch streaming. Like, that would be annoying, even more annoying than what it is doing right now. And see, that was so long. It took us 34 minutes, I think, just to do the Ultimate Landrush. Well, next time we have Ultimate Gymkhana, and I'm not sure if we're going to really succeed there, and then the speedruns, and then the Super Series final, and then we're going to try to do an online thing and try to look at all the cars, so there's still a decent amount of things to do, but we're getting close to the end. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.